Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 909, or welcome back if you're a fantastic viewer. Today, me and Bryer from Bryer's Music Showcase, we're going to be covering just an incredible album. Uh, in my opinion, one of the greatest albums of all time. It's in my top 100, along with a couple of others from this epic period of theirs. Uh, that I'm referring to is Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Uh, this was released shockingly in 1973. I would have never guessed
Mm.
it was 1973. This sounds like it was released like way after that, just so ahead of its time, really. But I'll get my spiel out of the way. Brian, you have anything to say or any like backstory of this album before we begin?
Of course I do. So, going from volume 4 to here, obviously about a year has passed. And by this point, yeah, the drug use was starting to really take control of the band. Cocaine, alcohol, you name it, they were doing it. And they were also kind of exhausted from touring. So yeah, they were kind of getting tired of that. And it was during this time where Tony started to experience writer's block, where he would just try to come up with a riff and just nothing would come. So they started recording the album in Los Angeles, but when it was not working out, they went back to the UK and they decided to rent a castle to record in. And apparently, this castle was actually pretty well known amongst like rock and hard rock people because Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, even Mott the Hoople had recorded in this castle before them. And they thought a castle would be a good idea because hopefully the setting would kind of fuel some inspiration. So yeah, they did that. Apparently, the castle was possibly haunted based on what people keep telling them, and so they kind of were like started to play pranks on each other to try and scare the others. And the pranks got a little out of hands to the point where Bill basically slept with a dagger just to make sure no one messes with him while he slept. Of course, he probably would be on edge, especially after the spray paint incident. But yeah, that whole experience was kind of a thing, and of course, they would kind of be scarred for life after that. They didn't want to be in the castle anymore. But the bright side is that it actually did help spark Tony's inspiration. He was able to come up with some more riffs and more songs, and basically those songs appeared on the album. And this album did pretty well. Again, did pretty well review wise. Went to number 4 in the UK and number 11 in the US. So still very good. And yeah, I think we've mentioned before that yeah, this is definitely up there as one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums. I'll go more in depth as we go through the track listing, but yeah, this is a terrific album.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, I much prefer this album over Paranoid. I know a lot of people say, well, a lot of newcomers will always go to Paranoid, but if I ever met anyone who wants to get into the catalog, I'd take them to this album because
Hmm.
this album's a much better gateway into them than Paranoid, to be honest. In my opinion, that is. But let's get straight into the track listing. First track on the album is the title track, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Uh,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's so this was basically the song where it clicked once again for Tony because this was actually the first song written for the album. And it starts off with again another fantastic riff from Tony. Again, this is where they were kind of starting to talk little talk crap on the music industry because that's what this whole song was about, just of how just dealing with all the critics and all the record executives they have to deal with, and so they were kind of getting their frustration out. And yeah, you can hear that aggression throughout the whole song. Again, the verses are very heavy, but the chorus kind of slows down. It kind of a bit more softer and have a more acoustic sound to it, which is very cool. And Ozzy, like this is definitely one of Ozzy's one of his best vocal performances at this point because he's actually singing pretty high, a lot higher than he normally does. And I think it sounds very cool. And I love the part where he just screams, "You bastards!" It's just like I don't know if it's needed, but it sounds pretty cool when he does it. And then what follows is another great solo, and the outro is so cool. I really like the outros of the song. So yeah, really fantastic opening track.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it now. This is definitely their best opener to an album
Mm-hmm.
so far in their catalog.
Yeah.
Not to take anything from away from the first four albums. Like, if I'm saying that this is the best song amongst Black Sabbath, War Pigs, Sweet Leaf, and Wheels of Confusion, you know you're doing something right. If each opener gets better from each album, you know to me that just shows talent right there. It's just oh, and that when he screams the title track,
Mm-hmm.
I could never get over that. It's like the way he sings it, Sabbath, bloody Sabbath. It's just
Yeah.
oh man, you just hear it's just you feel pain and it's cool. It's a cool song. Yeah, what a great song. One of my favorites from this album.
Mm-hmm.
Next song on the album, National Acrobat.
All right, so kind of a bit more of a slower song, but doesn't really that's not a bad thing at all. I really love the groove to this song. It's a really good drum groove, and I love the sound of the guitars. Guitar tone on this album is very top notch, and even the bass playing on here on this track, some very strong stuff from Geezer. And I love Ozzy's more ominous sort of sound, more a bit lower, a bit darker. So yeah, very cool. And of course, this song has some switch ups here as well. And the outro to the song, again, another great outro to this song. I mean, lyrically, it's pretty interesting. It's supposed to be. I mean, it's kind of vague, but from what I can gather, it's kind of like the thoughts of an unborn child, kind of the thoughts they're possibly thinking, and the song also kind of gives some life advice, that sort of thing. Very interesting stuff, but still, really good follow up track.
I think I'm not gonna spoil it, but this is one of my favorites also on the
Mm-hmm.
album.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, I was just vibing to it the entire time. It's just da-da, 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 da-da,
Mm-hmm.
da-da, just the way Ozzy sings on it, top notch. This and the last album really show Ozzy Osbourne at his peak of vocals, especially
Yeah.
especially the last album. It just shows his range in the absolute best way possible. It just you go from like you go 3 years ago with him singing on the debut, like he sounds really good, but you hear him really evolving on this album, and this
Mm-hmm.
track shows it. These first two tracks really show him singing in an awesome way, and I've always loved this track. Always been one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs from the first time I ever heard it to now. It's just what a awesome song this is. Fantastic. I love it so much. Next track is a nice little instrumental, Fluff.
Yep.
What do you think about Fluff?
Yeah. So we kind of teased it in the last episode, but it was, but of course, there was this DJ called Alan Freeman, but his nickname was Fluff, and he was like one of the few radio stations that would play their music. And so they decided to kind of make this. They kind of made this to dedicate it to him, which is this very slow, very acoustic guitar, very piano heavy sort of instrumental. And I think it's pretty pretty. Again, it's not really a song I'll go back to on its own, but it's definitely a nice little palette cleanser, shall we say? Going from the first two songs, which were very heavy, but now we have something a little bit different. Again, they always did like to show a little different side to them, to show that they weren't always dark and gloomy all the time. And yeah, this is a pretty nice instrumental. I do like it a lot. And a little fun fact: Tony played this song at his first wedding. So kind of a cute little thing.
I think it's a really nice track. You just got to do well. It's a palette like you said. It's a cleanser after
Mm-hmm.
two pretty dark songs on the album to open up. You get that nice little acoustic instrumental to like sort of like bring you back to life. Really cool stuff. This works really well in the context of the album. I agree. I wouldn't go back to this track. This is my least favorite off the album, but Still pretty good song, pretty good instrumental, I'd say.
Mm.
Side one ends off on Sabra Kadabra. I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah, Sabra Kadabra. I think at least. But anyhow, but yeah, this is another good song to close out the album, the side with. Um, it's it's kind of funny. Like it's a very hard song, very heavy song, but it's supposed to be some kind of a love. Lyrically, it's kind of a love song, almost, which is kind of interesting. They don't, but yes. Again, some more really great vocals from Ozzy on this one, and this has a very cool like synthesizer solo, which fun fact was actually provided by Rick Wakeman from Yes. He actually guest appears on this album. Again, the drumming, the guitars all sound great, and even the piano, again provided by Rick, is really nice. Yeah, very good song to close out this side.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic song. Another one of my favorites. It's after that palate cleanser with the fluff, it just get right back into it with this song, and
Hmm.
really cool song to end off the first side of the record. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. You said it pretty well. Really good song though. Really like it. Side two opens up with another great song, "Killing Yourself to Live."
Oh yeah, yeah. This is another one of my favorites on the album. I mean, it's pretty obvious what it's about. You know, the whole rock and roll lifestyle, and the whole story behind it was that geezer kind of he was in the hospital at one point because his drinking was starting to get out of hand and actually affected his kidneys for a little bit. So he was in the hospital for a bit, and just kind of being in the hospital bed, and it's just kind of sparked some inspiration to kind of write about how, you know, and in the whole business, like you are killing yourself to live, to be able to keep going, keep recording, keep touring, the whole cycle. And yeah, you definitely hear it in the lyrics. But musically, again, this is definitely one of the catchiest songs on the album. I really love the groove, the drum groove on here, and a great riff as well. And throughout this whole song, the guitar work is very good. And again, there's many different changes, different switch ups and tempo changes. I think it's a very great song. So it's one of my favorites on this album.
Yeah, this sadly didn't make it into my top five.
Mm,
Like it's an honorable mention. Really good song, especially knowing the backstory behind it, like you mentioned. Really good song though. Again, I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but yeah, it's a pretty cool song to open up the second side.
hmm.
Next song is it's not a Who song. It's called "Who Are You." It's Black Sabbath, not the Who.
Yeah,
Uh, what do you
they
think
don't
about that?
sound like either. But yeah. So who are you with a question mark? So this song was actually based on believe a book. It was just a book about having about this dystopian future, and you can kind of hear it. I mean, you have that synth intro, which is supposed to have this futuristic effect, and basically the whole thing is about it's about how in this dystopian future, you know, people are kind of ignoring the biggest problem, the big elephant in the room, the big problems in society, because you know the whole saying that ignorance is bliss sort of things, kind of playing around with that sort of theme. Another slower song. There's a pretty good bass playing on here, and I really liked how it kind of switches to a more uh, piano section, and then going back into the main song to finish out the song. So I think it's a pretty good song. This one didn't quite make my top five, but yeah, still pretty good.
This song is epic. This song is really epic. Hearing this recently when I was going through the albums again and really listening to this, I'm like, this song is epic. This is this is I'm gonna say now it's not my favorite song on the album, but this is the most epic song on the album. I just now knowing the backstory behind this song, it makes it even more epic. Knowing the
Mm,
backstory, just mind blowing. This doesn't sound like '73 too. It sounds like
mm,
late '70s, early '80s sounding this song. So this song goes way ahead of its time, which I respected a lot. Really,
mm.
ah, really good song. Next song on the album, "Looking for Today."
All right. Looking for today, kind of another song about fame and how it kind of comes and goes. Yeah, this whole album is kind of them really the whole rock and roll lifestyle really taking its toll. But yeah, regardless, the song very good one as well. Another one that didn't quite make the top five. Like I think it goes out saying there's no real bad songs on this album. There's no real like duds or anything. I think everything is very good. But yeah, great drumming from Bill. Like Bill really gets to shine on this one a bit more. I love the bridge to this song. It's very cool. And I love the added flute, which was actually provided by Tony. So yeah, Tony, pretty good horn player. But yeah, the chorus is very catchy. I just love how Ozzy sings it. It's just very memorable. And yeah, great drumming at the very end, and a great guitar solo to close it on top of it. So yeah, another very great song.
Yeah, I think it's a really good song. I agree. This also isn't one of my favorites. I also agree with what you said. This is all killer no filler. This is an
Hmm.
all killer no filler type album. There is no filler on this album. There might be songs I'm not as into as the others,
Yeah,
but
there's no
this,
filler. It's just fluff.
uh, yeah, but this is really good though. Really good song.
Hmm.
I like it quite a bit. Last song on the album, Spiral Architect.
Right. Like very interesting. Yeah, when I was looking up the song, like there's definitely some nice things I learned about it, but of course, spiral architect is referring to DNA because DNA is a spiral type of thing. It's the structure. And, with DNA, it's the building block to life, basically. And the whole song is basically about holding on to hope in dark times. And yeah, I think that's very, very nice. And it's funny. I heard. I think it was Geezer who wrote the lyrics to this one as well. And when Ozzy read them to sing it, his mind was blown. Like, whoa, this is like some awesome. This is like some out there stuff, man. And then again, he was high, so of course he would say that. But still, I think it's very cool lyrically. And again, just that the intro with the acoustic guitar just has a very haunting sound to it, kind of represent kind of the darker aspects of it. But then when the guitars come in, when it becomes electric, it becomes brighter again. And I love the strings on this in the chorus. The bass playing is great, and overall, I think it's a really great song to close out this album. So yeah, very good. You're muted.
Yeah, this song's really good. Closed out the album really well. Uh, yeah, really. Lyrics are great. Yeah, a lot of good backstories to these songs. But yeah, this is
Hmm.
really good song. Definitely one of my favorites off this album. Uh, what are your five favorite songs from the album?
All right. So my five favorite songs on here. Number five, I have Sabra Cadabra. So number four, Spiral Architect. Number three, Killing Yourself to Live. Number two, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And number one, A National Acrobats. And again, no bad songs, so I won't give a dishonorable track, but the one song that barely missed the top five was Looking for Today.
Mm. My top five is going to be number five, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Number four, Sabra Cadabra. Number three, Spiral Architect. Number two, Who Are You? And number one, National Acrobat.
All
So
right.
we agree on the best song on the album.
No, yeah.
We did it last video on Fleetwood Mac, and now we're doing it now.
Yeah, exactly.
We just have the right opinions, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, our opinion matters.
As for the three bottom songs, I'll rate those at two. I guess number eight, I'd say, would be Fluff. That
Hmm.
goes without saying.
Yeah, I
It's an
agree.
instrumental. Number seven, I'd say. I'm trying to think of the song name. Looking for Today, and number six, just barely missing out on the top five, is Killing Yourself to Live.
Hmm.
What is your score on the album, though?
Yeah, this gets a very high rating. Like, yeah, so far it's the highest rated Black Sabbath album we've done so far. I'm gonna give it a 9.75, almost a 10 out of 10. Yeah, again, like we said, all killer no filler. Every song on here is just very well put together. Again, the band themselves just sound so good together. Some of Ozzy's best vocals. You have a good mixture of the darker stuff, but you even have some more lighter stuff to kind of balance things out a little bit. Yeah, it's just, to me, it's one of their best albums. It's up there. And it's funny, I don't really hear too many people talk about this album too much. Of course, people talk about the debut, Paranoid, Masters Reality. Like usually the first 3 albums get talked about a lot, but
Mhm.
and even Sabotage I feel gets talked about more than this one, but I just think it's great. It's really good. So it's a
First time I
9.75.
First time I heard the album was someone had a T-shirt, Sabbath, the Bloody Sabbath, and I'm like, "Oh, that's a cool T-shirt." He's like, "You ever heard the album before?" And I'm like,
Mm.
"No, I only heard Paranoid." He's like, "Yeah, listen to that album."
Mm.
And I did, and it blew my mind. It was like
Yeah.
it was like years ago, and yeah, I'm gonna give it. It's in my top 100 albums, so that by default makes it a 10 out of 10 record.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, this is a flawless album in my opinion. It's really high in my top 100 too.
Wow,
I'm
cool.
not gonna spoil it here, but yeah, it's. I'm happy. I'm happy with the placement of Sabbath release Sabbath, but yeah. Besides that, you have anything else to add before we close out?
Not much. It's just next album we have is gonna be Sabotage. And of course that one is another very highly regarded one, so we'll see if it holds up still.
Yeah, it's probably their it's their last album that really
Yeah, it's the last of
like,
the quote unquote classic period for them.
yes. We'll see after that album if they really do take a downward spiral in terms of
Mm.
quality. Thank you guys for watching the video. This is a fun series going through it, and see you guys in the next video. So long.